Is Meghan Markle intent on exploiting the royal family's grief for her own gain? Hello everyone, welcome to Royal News Network. My name is Brittany, and today we're going to be talking about kind of how Meghan Markle has been seen. A lot of people are questioning whether or not she's wearing a mic on her walkabout in Windsor. There was obviously this huge kerfluffle over their 40-minute segment in Windsor. Apparently there was a 45-minute negotiation process between them and Prince William and Princess Catherine, kind of going over what they would do on this walkabout to commemorate Her Majesty. And as her and Harry go into Buckingham Palace tonight, as Her Majesty's body has arrived there in London, I think there's a bunch of questions over, and many people are wondering, is Meghan recording anybody? Is she writing everything down? And really at the end of the day, because her and Harry, I think, are kind of desperate still for Netflix content, are they going to exploit the royal family's grief, their loss of the Queen, for their own financial gain? But if you guys haven't been here to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany, and on this channel we talk about everything related to royals. So that's news, gossip, fashion, jewelry, television shows, movies, and history. We shall do it all right here. So if you guys want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. And before we get into more Harry and Meghan drama, because it just seems to consume so much of the news cycle, and perhaps there's criticism, I talk about it too much, but at the same time, I feel like obviously the BBC and other networks are covering the vast majority of the coverage. But I think it's good to point out things that we should all be concerned about, because I want the monarchy to go forward. And I feel like Harry and Meghan are a huge obstacle to that. And so I feel the need to really call out their hypocrisy, call out the things that are just not going right, because I think it is there to kind of, in a way, protect the monarchy. So just to kind of start off with, the Queen's body has obviously been lying in state in Scotland. They had the Scottish crown upon her casket, and they brought it up from the Palace of Holyrood up to St. Giles Cathedral yesterday. And then today, after, thousands and thousands of people walked past and paid their respects, Princess Anne once again accompanied her mother, took her coffin from Scotland to London. And I just thought there was this great moment, and I wish I had captured it, and maybe I'll see if I can find it, whereas the flight was taking off from Scotland, and the BBC newscaster went, "So the Queen, for her final time, has left her beloved Scotland." And that just kind of hit me in the heart. It was kind of a gut punch, because Her Majesty loved Scotland. She loved Balmoral. She loved being there, and that it was just her final time leaving, I think, is kind of deeply emotional. And she received a hugely, hugely warm welcome from London, as her body kind of went from the RAF base to Buckingham Palace, where it once began lying kind of within a ballroom where the royal family themselves, in a private moment, can have a bit of a memorial service, not really a service I should say, but can have time to commemorate, remember, and just have this opportunity to really, be there for each other in this private moment. So she, as the body was I keep saying body, as the casket was coming into Buckingham Palace, there were, rounds of cheers from the crowd. So go ahead and take a listen to this video. All right, guys, I just love to hear the crowds and them congratulating and thanking, Anne for bringing her mother home, and just Her Majesty for her 70 years of service, and really 96 years of service overall. She, as a young woman, she was part of the military. She was helping, transport and drive military equipment between places. And so she really was quite involved in that effort, and she really has served her country since she was a child. So it was kind of a beautiful moment to see her really welcome home, despite the rain, despite the cold, that people were there just to remember the Queen and all of her decades of service. And in addition, we saw some of the royal family members arrive. So we saw Charles and Camilla. Earlier that day, Charles had gone to Northern Ireland. So there's kind of 4 countries within the UK. So England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So Charles has obviously been to England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. He'll go to Wales later this week. And so he received a very, very warm welcome in Northern Ireland. So just go ahead and take a watch here. I just love that he is able to really get the applause and the appreciation that he deserves. And I'm so glad people aren't just like, oh, Charles, Charles. Because I mean, there had been so much talk for decades, basically, that, oh, he should just give the throne to William. So I'm really glad that Charles is able to establish himself and establish his reign, because I mean, he has served the UK since, you know, for the past 50 or so years. He's in his mid 70s now. And so he's served for the past 50 years. And so I think he deserves a little bit of recognition in this situation. So I'm glad he received a very, very warm welcome. There was this incident where Charles got a little frustrated with a pen. So why don't you go ahead and take a look at this, because it's obviously making the rounds in the news a bit.
I just had to put, is it September 12th?
13, sir.
Oh God, I'm the wrong date. 13?
Yes, sir.
You saw 12 earlier.
Wait a minute, something 10. Oh God, I hate this.
Oh, look, it's going everywhere. Hang on. So nobody got it wrong. Oh, look, it's everywhere.
Oh, there, this bloody thing. What they do is every stinking.
When I see this video, all I see is a man who's had a long, long week. He's probably sleep deprived. He is mourning. He is traveling a lot. He's in his mid 70s. He is out of a routine. He's facing this enormous, enormous burden of leading the United Kingdom. And so do I blame the guy for getting a little frustrated with the pen and perhaps maybe a little snippy? No, the guy has had an exceptionally long week. He's most of the time absolutely exceptionally gracious. I mean, there was even an incident where some guy came up to a stage and started shooting at him, and Charles just stood there and just kind of looked at him and went, okie day. So I think Charles is doing an exceptional job so far. This job is not easy, especially because to a certain extent, Camilla, his wife, his partner of, 17 years now. I think they've been married for 17 years, and obviously they were together kind of off and on a lot before that as well, that they are united, and I think they're showing the UK public their best faces. And I would also say we got at least two images of Catherine and William coming in for this moment as well. And I noticed that Catherine in particular was wearing this pearl necklace with three kind of strands, or three layers to it. And I wonder, Her Majesty wore pearls a lot. So I would not be surprised in the slightest if that pearl necklace was either given to Catherine by the Queen, or it actually belongs to the Queen and the Queen lent it to her. I would not be surprised about that in the slightest. I think it's beautiful that Catherine kind of commemorated her that way. And I bet you she has these pearl earrings. I believe actually Meghan has too, that the Queen had gifted them. So I hope she's wearing those as well. I'm sure she is. William was kind of looking away. I'm sure, obviously this brings up a lot of deep bad memories for him in terms of the death of his mother. But at the same time, obviously, I think it was Harry who was in the Me You Can't See. He was mad that everybody wanted to mourn with them. And I mean, of course, the whole country's mourning. She was an icon. And, Harry was saying this in regards to Diana. And so I think it is tough, though, to have to do your mourning in a way so publicly. I think that is exceptionally tough. And I'm sure William as well is thinking, my father he's about 73. I think he'll turn 74 this year, because I think his birthday is later in the fall. And I'm sure all William is thinking is, I might have to do this in a couple years. I don't know if I'm ready. Is Catherine ready? Are we ready for this? Are our kids ready? I mean, I'm sure he's thinking that, because although his father is still quite young, and his mother Charles's mother lived to 96, his father lived to 99, there's just no guarantee. So I'm sure there's a lot weighing on William. So I'm glad he's been able to be there, but also take a bit of a step back, because I'm sure as well, just again, knowing that this is your future, this is your destiny, and this will just fall upon your shoulders, perhaps even randomly, I'm sure is just stark and just a little terrifying. So I think William and Catherine have handled themselves very, very graciously. And then we get to Harry and Meghan. I actually thought this, and it wasn't until somebody else said it too, I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. But she was very much wearing like this very, not only dark, but overly made up. I mean, she had kind of a red lip on. And, just in this situation, I don't mind a red lip for an evening event, but you're going to see your husband's grandmother's body. Don't you think you would kind of tone down the look a bit? She's also quite a bit tanner than she was the last time we saw her. I don't know. I mean, it seems to be that she does kind of make herself kind of give herself a darker complexion. We've kind of seen that, because sometimes she looks actually quite pale. So it just kind of depends. She seems to do that, although it could totally be the lighting with this picture. But as Harry and Meghan were driving in, I just couldn't help but think to myself, oh my gosh, how are the rest of the royal family members gonna handle them being there? Are they gonna have to measure, take back, be supremely cautious in what they say? Because there's a possibility that Harry and Meghan are recording them, or that Meghan or Harry will write down everything they say. And I hate to say it, but it's most likely going to be Meghan who does these things. And you just look at all this and think, how sad that you have to share this time of mourning, this time of deep personal grief, with a woman who seems to enjoy exploiting these type of things for money. And I think that's exceptionally true. And I would honestly, if I was a friend of the royal family member, I would tell them to exercise extreme caution when talking around Meghan. I would not be surprised at all if there were some cursory hellos, but everybody is like, Meghan goes to one side of the room and then everybody goes to the other. Because you just can't trust her. You cannot trust her to exploit something for her own financial gain. She does it with everything. She does it with personal events, pictures of her children. She seems to very, very much want to control things because she wants to get a benefit from it. So this comes up as well when we're thinking back on kind of the Windsor walkabout the four of them did this weekend. It was kind of interesting to see the four of them there. It was very much a surprise to the reporters. However, there was a lot going on behind the scenes that's kind of trickled out since then. One of the big things is that it took 45 minutes to kind of negotiate whatever they were going to do. And they were only there 40 minutes. So they actually spent more time negotiating than they did actually at the event. And I think part of this comes from the fact that we've also heard, and it's also rumored, that Harry and Meghan were planning on doing their own walkabout without palace permission. And because the palace found out about that, they went ahead and they took a preemptive strike and went ahead and asked Harry and Meghan to go with Catherine and William. Apparently it was William who asked. That's been reported. It's been reported that Charles pressured William to ask, so it's really unclear. But somehow Harry and Meghan got asked, and then they went on this 45-minute negotiation process. And although some have said it was because Meghan needed hair and makeup and they needed to change, I think that's somewhat correct. But I could also see it being as a negotiation, because if Harry and Meghan, let's say, were going to exploit this walkabout for Netflix and were going to do one without the palace permission, I bet they were trying to figure out how they could still get that content they needed, still get those reactions that they wanted from the crowd when in the presence of Catherine and William, and making sure they didn't get totally kind of sidelined by the Prince of Wales and his wife, the Princess of Wales. I'm sure that was a huge part of it. And how Harry and Meghan were just kind of trying to figure out how they could make this thing that they were kind of forced to do work for themselves. And I think one example of this, and this has been reported quite a bit, was Meghan with the flowers. So an assistant came over to her and said, "Hey, I'll put the flowers." She's like, "Oh, no, I'm going to put the flowers there." So go ahead and take a listen to this clip. Now it's a little difficult to tell exactly what she says, but she seems to say, "Well, I told him I would take it over there," or something to that effect, or "I'll take it," or something. But here's the thing. That's not her job, and that's not what she was supposed to do in that situation. Somebody pointed out actually in the comments that, there could be, poison or, a bomb or something within the flowers. She doesn't know what's in the flower. So it behooves her to give them to somebody so they can be placed and they can go on to the next thing. That benefits her to do that, but she refused to do that. But I think kind of the bigger thing that was driving her is that Meghan wanted this moment where she was taking these flowers that were given by the public and carefully laid down in front of all the flowers and Windsor. I think that's what Meghan wanted, and I think that's why she kind of pushed the guy back, hoping that she would at some point get her moment to go over there and place the flowers. Perhaps her and Harry were planning on, well, we'll go over there, we'll get the flowers, we'll put them down, yada, yada, yada. And I think this aide kind of disrupted this grand plan she had in her mind. And it became insistent to the point where they finally had to force her to let go of the flowers that she had collected so far. And then in another instance later, which I showed in my video last week, is that, she's describing where to put the flowers to the guy as if he's, an idiot. And it's like, well, he works with the royal family. He actually knows what he's doing. He's the one who told you that you needed to give it to the assistant and not keep it for yourself. And so I think just looking at all that, it just becomes exceptionally clear that just Meghan is a terrible royal. She really is. And her narcissism and ego is completely out of control. And this instance, what Catherine and William did, which was very smart, is completely take her off her game. And it showed. It really showed. She looked uncomfortable. She seemed uncomfortable. She kept fidgeting with her hair. And granted, I'll get back to the hair. She kept fidgeting with her hair. She looked tense. She didn't, people shook her hand, but nobody, except for a couple of instances, nobody seemed that thrilled to see her. Everybody wanted to see Catherine and William. And I was the same way. When the coverage first started was that Harry and Meghan, I was like, well, I don't care about seeing Harry and Meghan. I haven't seen, the new Prince and Princess of Wales yet. And this is like their first big public thing. I want to see them. And the camera angle finally shifted over, but it's very much like anymore. It's like Catherine and William, they have these new titles, they have these new positions and everything, and Harry and Meghan are just kind of old news. And it just didn't seem like people, again, with a couple exceptions, were super enthused to see them. They politely shook their hands, except for at least one woman just completely ignored Meghan and didn't even seem to look at her. And so it was just this thing where it's just obvious how Meghan probably wanted to control this crowd and realized very quickly that when it came to royals, she was definitely below tier and nobody really wanted to talk to her, again, because as well, many people were thinking that Meghan's actions, Meghan's attitude, Meghan's comments, Meghan's sharp barbs towards the monarchy really did perhaps expedite the Queen's death, expedited the Queen's death. And so people are just not really thrilled with her. And I thought it was funny. I was talking to my mom, and my mom was reading this article on this news site. She was just even looking through the comments at the end. And she's like, nobody likes Meghan. And it's true. Not a lot of people like her. She's not likable. And not to mention the fact she's not trustworthy. So what kind of spurned this video, because I actually had kind of two options and then I did a third, and then I actually kind of combined two of my ideas together, is talking about, was Meghan Markle wearing a wire or a mic while she was greeting the crowds? Because there's this picture and there's like this little, square thing, it seems like, kind of on her pelvis, and many people's pelvis, stomach, and many people were wondering, is that a mic pack she's wearing? Now here's the thing. I don't know. I actually looked up and wondered if it was like some sort of hormone patch or something. It wasn't that, because those things don't seem to have much of a raised effect to them, because I almost thought it could be something medical. It doesn't seem like it. So that was my only thing I could think of. But that even people question it in the moment of grief, people are looking, wondering, and I mean, people have said too, because she kept moving her hair to one side, she was trying to hide a wire, which, I mean, it absolutely could be correct. But I think the most critical thing for Meghan, and the thing that she's having the most issue with, is that people don't trust her. They don't even trust her to have the decorum not to record somebody when they're in the middle of grief, when she's in the middle of meeting people who are mourning the loss of the leader, the head of state of their country, that she will do anything and exploit anything in order to make money. She is completely untrustworthy. And that's why these stories just kind of refuse to die. Again, I can't say whether or not it was a mic. And when it comes to the Jubilee, it absolutely could have been a mic hidden in her dress. It's difficult to tell. It looked like she did have some sort of pack on her chest. Like I have actually, I just touched it. I have a mic pack right here, a little one. And, sometimes I'm sure it shows in videos, other times it doesn't. Sometimes when the clothing rustles, you can hear it, but it's easier because it captures the best audio 9/10 of the time. But that people don't even trust her not to do just the decent things, just the things that everybody should do, shows you just what kind of person is and how much in the toilet her PR image is. There's rumors been floating around as well recently that Sunshine Sachs has finally dropped Harry and Meghan. I wouldn't be surprised. Their PR is A, it's awful, and B, I think Sunshine Sacks led them to ruin by they kept telling them they could be the next Diana, which was totally not the case. Not to mention the fact it's like Meghan's kind of a terrible person to represent because she does everything wrong almost, and she has kind of the worst PR mess. I think one of the worst PR messes I've ever seen. It's just utterly ridiculous kind of how pathetic she is when it comes to this stuff, because all she has to do is the very simple things. But like this, she needs content for Netflix. She has promised them this great content, and this is a fabulous story that's fallen into her lap. I mean, I can say even for my channel, it's been something that's helped with growth. Like, not that I'm happy about it, but it is something that's contributed to growth for sure. But when it comes to Netflix, Harry and Meghan, they're not creative people, I don't think. And they've been filming for over a year now because they did their New York tour in the fall, and it's like, it's been a year. We have no content from them. That should not be the case. You know, having creative content is not that hard, and it's like, what are they trying to show? I don't even understand. And so they've waited so long, like they're really up a creek without a paddle because they need content. They really, really need content. And this has fallen into their lap, and it's too good, I think, for Meghan not to exploit. So if I was a member of the Windsor family, or if I was advising a member of the Windsor family, I would say, steer clear of that one, because you don't know if you can trust her. You don't know if you can share your memory, your grief, your sadness with her. And because you don't know if she's gonna run to Oprah Winfrey and tell her all about it. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching. I plan on doing the Oprah one next, so maybe we'll get a twofer, you know, either one this evening and one tomorrow, probably like in the morning, I think. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to all my new subscribers. I always felt like this was the channel of kind of like the little engine that could, and I started it, and I had a vlog for a year that wasn't really going anywhere. I hadn't been retweeted by Angela Levine once. That was kind of my big coup for the blog, was that Angela Levine retweeted me at one point. And she's a kind of a Meghan critic. So I had that for a while, but I was just like, I don't know. So I started this channel with kind of the hope, well, maybe this will do well, and maybe this will help me, and I'll be, you know, get better on camera, and, you know, all these sorts of things. So I have been so blessed and amazed at how much it's grown. It's been really, really incredible. So thank you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you again so soon. Bye.